Let's watch a CNN panel that is discussing Trump and Kamala's economic plans, to the extent that Trump has one, I guess. But I've lined up a couple of the good ones from this segment, and as always, we'll be back with the context. Hey, you! Yes, you! Did you know we have memberships for as low as $3 a month? You can help the channel grow, reach new heights, and help protect democracy. And you get a long list of exclusive perks, from members-only polls to getting my videos early. The link is always in the description of every video. If you want, go ahead and check that out. And thank you guys.
YouGov, the polling organization, polled Americans on 130 or so policies from both of the candidates and didn't tell the survey respondents whose policies were whose. And they asked people, do you like it? Do you dislike it? And the general finding was that Kamala Harris's agenda was head and shoulders much more popular than Trump's. Almost all of her policies got majority support. Only about half of Trump's did. And actually, they had done a version of this, YouGov, a few months ago, where Trump's policies fared even worse. The reason why he's finally above water on about half of his policies is that he's kind of had this recent panderpalooza where he is giving away tax breaks to everyone. No tax breaks on no taxes on Social Security benefits or tips or what have you. So Kamala Harris does much better in a blind test than Trump. She does better on almost...
That is immensely interesting, which tells me she can't articulate.
Yes, I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that, I promise.
What it tells me is that a large group of Americans will say policy bad just because it's a Democrat that's the one doing it, even further with some men just because it's a woman. But Trump has brainwashed them enough to vote against their own best interests, and it shows a few things. It shows who's actually a populist. For one, Kamala is obviously running a more economically populist agenda, breaking from the norm that most politicians follow, especially Trump, who's running on the status quo Republican economic agenda, benefiting corporations and the wealthy, to the extent, again, that he even talks policy. But Kamala is the one with policies that favor everyday people, and you can see it in the blind vote, that people find more helpful and that they prefer to things like tax cuts and tariffs that will crash our economy worse than Bush did. A vote for Trump is just a vote for the top 10%. And for corporations and corporate owners to get richer. A vote for Kamala is a vote for an economy that everyone prefers, again, as you can see in this blind vote, and where everyone has equal opportunity.
We also looked at it by category. So we looked at it, healthcare, crime, foreign policy, immigration, et cetera. She bests him on almost every category. There are a couple where they're basically tied, the economy and immigration, actually. But she even bests him on crime. Which I think is super fascinating, because if you ask voters in the abstract, who do you trust more on crime, they overwhelmingly say Trump. But then if you look at their policy preferences, again, head and shoulders, Kamala Harris does better, in part because people don't know what all of her policies are.
In 2019, I thought she wasn't being authentic personally. Remember, her critique from the left was that she was a cop. Like many people called her that when she was GA. And I'm not mad at that, personally. Like, I liked when she was on that Senate hearing committee and she was being a cop. I'm like, go get him, Kamala, And I think when she's in those shoes, that's when she's her most authentic self.
Well, also, Trump oversaw a massive crime spike in 2020, which means that his policies to tackle crime, which again, he didn't actually have any, they didn't really exist because the only thing he passed was tax cuts, but his crime agenda does not work. Biden, however, pardoned nonviolent drug offenders, signed bipartisan gun legislation, of which included money going to communities for crime prevention methods, and crime has continuously dropped since 2020 when he took office. 2022 was revised up by 20,000 more violent crimes under the new system, but 2021 was revised down by an even larger margin, almost 3 times as much, at right under 60,000 crimes revised down in 2021. And even with that slight increase in 2022, it was still a decline from the 2020 spike that we saw under Trump. And with Harris being a prosecutor and, not a felon and not surrounding herself with criminals and having policies that will actually tackle income inequality and poverty, I can only see that number continuing to decline for her as well.
In the panel after this, where you had the 5 undecided voters, 3 of them went away voting for her.
The third one seemed a little,
and
I don't know, shaky.
2 of them were undecided, leaning towards her.
But the third was shaky, Maria.
I'll tell you what the problem is.
She was shaky.
Kamala is using too much political
She convinced undecided voters, yes or no?
She convinced 2 out of the 5.
She convinced undecided voters,
2 out
yes
of the
or no?
5.
Okay, none of them went for Trump. None of them were leaning towards
but
Trump.
Maria, if they're not
No,
voting
no,
for
no,
her,
no.
well,
If
that's
you
not a
guys
net
no,
positive.
You
You know
guys
that.
are saying that she's not closing
Marianne,
the
go ahead.
deal, and she actually
If
is.
I were advising the campaign, Kevin, we've heard enough from Kevin. What does Larry have to say? There comes a point when you have to be direct with your answers and you can't use political speak. And sometimes Kamala uses political speak, where let's take fracking, for example, which is, well, my values never change. Well, what's wrong with saying I changed my mind?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think the audience would appreciate that more if you gave a real valuable answer as to why you changed your mind.
Of the 5, 3 of the undecided voters said they would definitely vote for Harris. 2 said they were now leaning towards voting for Harris. After her Fox News interview, multiple undecideds in a panel said they would vote for Kamala. After the debate, I think it was 24 of 33 undecided voters said, yeah, I'm going to vote for Kamala, with the majority of the ones remaining said they were leaning Kamala now. So I don't know why anyone would listen to MAGA's depiction of how she did, the people who are going to say that anything or anyone who disagrees with them is bad. I mean, that's definitely something we can trust, right? When you can also just get it directly from the voters that she needs to reach. When she speaks, she wins over voters. This is an objective fact, which means she's doing something right. Her economic agenda is more popular, which means she's doing something right. She's more trusted to handle crime. Her policies on crime are more favorable. This means she's doing something right. And she represents not only a positive message, but a turning of the page, while Trump represents hatred and division. If you enjoyed this video, we're Social Society. We're a commentary channel influenced by politics, society, and the economy. We are pretty left-leaning on this channel, but we're open to our right-wingers as well. The biggest thing here is having conversations that get everyone to the bottom of the truth. If that sounds like something that could interest you, consider smashing that subscribe button, leaving us a like, or even commenting on this video. We even have memberships available as low as $3 if you'd like to support, because the only way we become a society is together. Peace.